Couple days ago, Bloomberg blessed us with an assortment of leaks and rumors about the next generation iPhone, as well as what we should expect in iOS 13 later this year, which, from everything he said, it seems like a kid in a candy store just asking everything that he wants to see, and perhaps a lot of this can be true. Bloomberg has been proven right in the past, and often, sometimes not so right in the past. So, of course, we always need to take any piece of leak and rumor that's coming out in January with a tiny grain of salt, and depending on who you're listening to, perhaps a giant rock of salt, perhaps a boulder of salt or a tablet of salt whenever you get this information. Just remember, it might not happen, but today we'll be going into the details of what Bloomberg is saying is coming in 2019 and even the next decade. Let's begin. Starting off with things we may be seeing in iOS 13. The first thing he mentioned is probably the most high-in-demand feature I've ever seen in iOS ever. Dark mode. Finally, to rest your eyes in those dark situations when you're in a dark room and you don't want your phone to be so strenuous on your eyes. There will be a mode in iOS 13 that allows the user interface to go completely dark. We're not sure if that means pitch black yet, where the OLED pixels on your OLED devices will go completely off. We're still not exactly sure where Apple stands on that. It's more likely going to be a gray mode similar to what YouTube or what Twitter looks like when their night modes are activated, which means that it's not completely black because we're not sure if Apple wants to give their OLED iPhones preferential treatment, particularly when Apple is pushing the iPhone XR to sell and sell and sell, and they really want the XR to sell. But if they started making these pure black options that would only be available for the OLED models, that probably wouldn't do good for the XR sales, and once again, people would start getting mad at Apple for preferential treatment. You're making features that only the XS can have. You want me to spend $250 just to activate more features? So they might just make it more simple and have dark gray mode across iPads, XR, XS, and everything with OLED. Who knows? We didn't get the exact details, but I'm the kind of person that, I think dark mode is important and it's going to be nice having it. I'll probably use it when it first comes out, but it's really, really overrated. I remember the last WWDC I reacted to, the chat for basically 2 hours straight would not shut up about the fact that they wanted dark mode in iOS 12, and they just spammed it, and it's been in comment sections and in videos that talk about iOS. Everyone just wants dark mode nonstop, and honestly, a lot of it relies on third parties anyway. It depends on the apps that you're using regularly to have a dark mode or not, and the only difference an official dark mode from Apple would simply be like messages, photos, settings, those apps would get dark mode, but how often are you really in them? Messages, I could see, you may have a point there, but if you use Messenger all the time or WhatsApp, it's on them to have a dark mode, not Apple. Discord has dark mode basically on by default. Twitter has a night mode. YouTube has a dark mode. I guess the Mailbox app could have a dark UI. Like, I'm not saying it's bad that we're getting a dark mode. I'm just saying it shocks me that this is such a hyped feature because I feel like once it's there, they'll turn it on and go, yay, this is great. And then 10 seconds later, you're used to it. And you're done, and that's it. The other reports Bloomberg gave us on iOS 13 is that they would be bringing more CarPlay features. Hey, okay, I don't really care. And also that the iPad could be receiving some type of home screen redesign, which I'm very fascinated by. Like, how are they going to redesign the iPad home screen to perhaps present more information given it's iOS but on a much larger display? Perhaps they want it to be more competition worthy with macOS and provide a tad more customization than the same amount of customization you currently have on your iPhone. Perhaps certain apps will be able to be opened up or have widgets on the home screen as you're swiping between apps. I'm not sure. We'll see. But he also says that they want to give more of a file management system to the iPad as well, which I can confirm as someone who's been talking about the iPad Pro a lot over the past couple months. That is a very high in demand feature. People want a file manager. People want more access to the files inside the iPad operating system, or perhaps support for external drives like flash drives or external USB-C drives with the iPad Pro, and perhaps optimizing iOS 13 to support all of those more legacy approaches that most people use for their laptops would be a great idea to boost iPad sales even more than they already have. So, all sounds like good stuff to me. I typically don't do iOS wishlist videos anymore because I noticed something really depressing. When I go back over the years and watch all of my iOS wishlist videos, they all basically say the same thing, which I find depressing. Like, year after year, I'm just asking for the same thing and it doesn't happen. So, I try to keep my expectations low and pretend that every iOS update is going to be minimal. That way, if it is major, then I'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, there was a ton of other stuff he talked about in regards to iOS, but those were the main ones I wanted to focus on. In regards regards to the 2019 iPhone, we have good news that I'm happy with, and you may not be, but I don't care so much because I think this is ultimately for the best. It sounds like Prototype 2, the iPhone we talked about a while ago with that more Cyclops-looking design, is the iPhone that could be finalized. Of course, in January, saying that a design is finalized is very, very broad and could very much be subject to change, but as of now, there's more evidence to suggest that Prototype 2 is the one they're going forward with, which I'm happy with because thinner side bezels all the way around, which is excellent. And Bloomberg also said that Face ID will definitely be getting improvements like we suggested and like a lot of us were anticipating, and I hope that means that the notch overall will be shrinking as well. With all the Android competition shrinking down notches, it makes sense that Apple would try to do it as well in 2019, but still have the secureness of Face ID still be present. And Bloomberg also said that we'll be getting a triple camera setup on the Max model of the 3 new iPhones coming out in 2019. Again, the naming, we don't know for sure, but I'm calling them the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Max, and the iPhone 11R. Both the iPhone 11 and the 11R will be sporting dual camera setups, potentially each one's with improved telephoto lenses than we have currently, because he's saying that on the iPhone 11 Max, the triple lens setup will provide an ultra-wide lens, which is what so many people were asking for. Thank you. Hopefully Apple's actually listening. But he also went into detail about the telephoto lens being a further zoom, which I'm very happy about because, as you guys know, when it came to 3 lenses on a phone, my highest in demand option was going to be a further zoomed in lens because I think that would be far more helpful than an ultra-wide. But I'm also totally fine with having both. This leak is saying we're going to have that ultra-wide lens alongside a telephoto lens that, instead of right now, zooms in 2x. In 2019, we could have an optical zoom of 3 times, maybe even up to 5 times zoom in, which would be really, really great because it would provide a ton of options for photographers out there. If you want an ultra-wide lens, you can do that. If you want to zoom in really, really close, you can do that as well. The only sucky thing, of course, being that, well, it's only available for the Plus version. So if you were hoping to have those extra camera options, but you wanted the smaller iPhone, I guess 2018 was the one year where Apple made camera features no different depending on which size you got. Looks like in 2019 they'll be going back to that, but lucky me because I like big phones, and I cannot lie, okay? I want the Max phone anyway. I want the biggest display possible, and knowing that I'm going to be getting some extra camera features alongside that is really, really great as well. It also sounds like the live photos feature is going to be getting improved. Right now, when you take a live photo, it captures a 1.5 seconds before you take it and a 1.5 seconds after you take it. Bloomberg is saying they're going to improve that to be more like 6 seconds, which now means that when you take a photo, it's going to be capturing 3 seconds before you take it, and also 3 seconds after, which means you'll have plenty of room to choose from. If you took a picture but it wasn't at the exact right moment, you'll be able to select a different key photo. Or when you 3D touch, no more 3D touch. When you haptic touch on the live photo, it will come alive and there will be much more content to watch along with your pictures than before. Kind of weird, kind of an extra long amount of time to capture live photos with, but I won't complain. I assume the A13 chip will be able to do this flawlessly, and with all the extra data provided from the ultra-wide lens as well as the super telephoto lens, I imagine portrait photos in 2019 are gonna be looking good. The other thing he talked about that I'm very, very excited with is that Apple is experimenting with USB-C iPhones right now, and my God, I hope they actually hit the market, because in the past we've seen leaks of iPhones having USB-C and they end up not happening. I get that, but this time we already have several iOS devices with USB-C, okay? Apple has acknowledged that USB-C is the better port, particularly with the iPad Pros, and before, my argument was all about how Apple was trying to remove the port anyway, so that's why they're not switching to USB-C, but with the big decrease in iPhone sales right now, I feel like trying to play favorites and trying to make the phone that you want to see is probably not the best idea, and USB-C is likely the safest route to go, because then all of your devices, all of your cables and stuff can work with all of the devices you own, iPads, MacBooks, iPhones. They can all charge with one cable. They could include USB-C fast chargers with the iPhone, or they don't even have to be fast charging, just USB-C on both ends, so that we stop shipping USB-A cables in 2018. Apple, what are you thinking? Anywho, I'm all about that team USB-C. Lightning has been around for a long, long time. I think it's okay to abandon it now in 2019, and the portless iPhone may be a lot further away than we actually think because Apple doesn't want to play any chances right now. 2019 for Apple is the year to play it safe. Don't do any big controversial decisions like removing the headphone jack with the iPhone 7. You know, iPhone sales were still on the rise back when they did that, so they could afford to upset some of their user base and lose a few people. Right now, they can't afford to lose anyone, okay? So just make phones at decent prices that are reliable and have interesting new features. Don't have too many controversial stuff, okay? Keep it simple, keep it straight to the point, and it sounds like like based on iOS 13 and the next iPhone, Apple is listening to consumers and acting on their requests, which is great for us, and it makes me excited to unbox a new iPhone this year. If you hate the placement of that camera module, go check out Everything Apple Pro's video. He explains how that will allow them to put larger batteries inside, which could result in 4,000 milliamp hour batteries, and with Apple's power efficiency, that's going to be some insane battery life we could be seeing this year. So I'm all for the new camera module placement. I don't care that it's never been done before. So what? They can do new things. That's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for a new iPhone. If you want the camera module in the old place, just keep using the phone you have. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of all these Bloomberg leaks down in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.